Hey y'all, welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner. It is Monday and I'm about to try a new recipe for a chicken Cordon Bleu tetrazzini. So for the ingredients, you're going to need some cooked and shredded chicken. This is from a rotisserie from Walmart. This is about 2 cups. You'll also need some diced ham. I'm just using about a half of this package. The recipe calls for some of this refrigerated Alfredo sauce. I have never seen this before, so I definitely wanted to try it. It's a little on the pricey side, so if you just wanted to use the jarred kind, that would be perfectly fine. The recipe also called for a can of cream of mushroom soup. We don't care for that, so I'm going to sub it for some cream of chicken. You'll also need some chicken broth, black pepper, Parmesan cheese, and some Swiss cheese. I'll just be using about half of this block. And then last but not least, you'll need some of this vermicelli. That's how I'm assuming you say it. Spaghetti noodles or just some thin spaghetti. So I'm going to go ahead and cook half of this box up. And then I'm just going to combine all these ingredients together in a bowl and bake it in the oven. I topped mine with some extra black pepper and I just served it with some steamed mixed veggies. We really like this recipe. I did go a little overboard with the ham. I didn't measure it out, so I'd probably cut back on that a little bit next time. But other than that, it was so yummy and we had plenty of leftovers, so that's what we ate for dinner on Tuesday as well. On Wednesday, I tried a new recipe for a beef tamale casserole. So I'm just taking a box of this Jiffy corn muffin mix and pouring that into a mixing bowl, followed by a half a cup of milk and 2 eggs. I'll also be adding in a whole can of creamed corn and 1 cup of freshly grated sharp cheddar cheese. And then I'm just going to whip out my whisk and I'm going to mix that together really well. Then I'm going to get out a 9x13 casserole dish and spray that with some nonstick cooking spray. Pour in that batter and that's going to go in the oven at 350 degrees for 20 minutes. So while that was baking in the oven, I got started on the ground beef. So here I have just browned up 1 pound and then I drained off the grease. Then I added in a package of taco seasoning. Now here the recipe said to add in some salsa, but I don't like onions, so I just left that out and decided to add in some extra enchilada sauce. So the recipe actually said to use a 10-ounce can. So the next size up was a 19-ounce. So I would assume that I use about 15 to 16 ounces. So I'm just going to combine that really well and let that simmer. After the 20 minutes was up, I pulled the cornbread out of the oven and topped it with that beef enchilada mixture. So your cornbread's not going to be completely cooked at this point, but it's going to hold up enough to hold the beef mixture. And I was afraid that this was going to get like soggy and weird on the top, but it all worked out great. So anyways, next I'm going to top it with that last cup of sharp cheddar cheese, and that's going to go back in my oven for another 20 minutes. I let this cool for about 15 minutes before I sliced into it, and then I just topped it with a little bit of sour cream, lettuce, tomato, and jalapenos. Y'all, this recipe was amazing. Hands down my favorite recipe of the week, and it made even better leftovers. You guys have to try this one. On Thursday, we had some BLT Caesar salads, so I just chopped up some romaine lettuce, and then I quartered up some cherry tomatoes, topped it with some bacon that I cooked in my oven, some freshly shredded Parmesan cheese, and then I also made some homemade croutons. So to do that, I just have one of these $1 loaves of Italian bread from the Walmart bakery. I definitely didn't use this whole loaf, that would have been way too much, but I just sectioned off a pretty good sized piece, and then I'm going to kind of badly here attempt to slice this bread, and then just cut it into some bite-sized pieces. Now that I have all of my bread cut up, I just tossed it into a small mixing bowl, and then I drizzled it with a good amount of olive oil and then shaked on some Parmesan cheese. And then to season it, I'm just using some kosher salt and garlic powder. So I'm just going to get out a big spoon and toss that around the best that I can. And then I'm going to dump that out onto a foil-lined cookie sheet and spread it out. This is going to go in the oven at 375 degrees for 10 minutes. And here is what they looked like when they first came out. They were super flavorful and so crunchy, delicious. They totally made the salad. The dressing that I chose to drizzle over the salad after this clip was this Great Value Creamy Caesar. This was my first time buying it and I really enjoyed it. I have been loving salads this summer and this was a pretty darn good one. On Friday, I made a balsamic chicken and veggie sheet pan meal. So in this baggie, I have 2 chicken breasts that I have sliced into strips. And then I made a quick marinade of just some balsamic vinegar and zesty Italian dressing. So I took a 1/3 cup of that and poured it over my chicken, and then I popped it in the fridge to marinate for a bit. Meanwhile, I got started on the veggies. So in this bowl, I have some chopped up broccoli, cauliflower, potatoes, and carrots. And then I just drizzled it with some olive oil, and I seasoned it with some garlic powder, Italian seasoning, and some Creole seasoning. So I did my best to try and mix all of this in the bowl, but that wasn't happening, so I decided to just finish it on the sheet pan. So I have just pulled out a large sheet pan and sprayed it with some nonstick cooking spray, dumped out my veggies, and I'm just going to get in there with my hands and massage everything well to make sure that every little piece gets coated. And this is going to go in the oven at 400 degrees for 30 minutes. The recipe said 15 minutes, but everyone in the comments said to double it, and I'm glad they did because these veggies were cooked perfectly at the end. So here it is after the 30 minutes. I'm just going to give it a little stir, and I'm going to make a hole in the center to add my chicken. I'm also going to be adding a few cherry tomatoes, and then I'm going to take that remaining marinade and pour it over the chicken and all over the veggies. And this is going to go back in the oven for 15 to 20 minutes. So here it is straight out of the oven. How pretty does that look? So here is my plate. These veggies were so yummy. They were cooked perfectly and so flavorful. I could have honestly made a meal out of just those and been completely happy. I will say I was disappointed in the chicken. It was pretty bland, which shocked me. I did only let it marinate for an hour, so maybe that's what it is, but it needed some seasonings. On Saturday, we went out to eat at Zaxby's. Let me know down in the comments if you are team Raising Cane's or team Zaxby's. I want to say that I like Raising Cane's just a little bit better. On Sunday, I made a meatless breakfast for dinner. So in my cast iron skillet, I'm melting in 3 tablespoons of butter. Then I'm going to be adding in about 1.5 pounds of potatoes. These are just some russets that I have peeled and cut into bite-sized pieces. And then I'm going to season those with just some simple salt and black pepper, and then a little bit of onion powder and garlic powder. And I'm just going to cook those until they are fully cooked. I want to develop some nice crispy brown bits, and of course I want them to be fork tender. So here I'm just coating those in the butter and just making sure that every little piece is coated in those seasonings. So unfortunately, all of my potatoes started sticking to my cast iron, and I had to move them to a different skillet. I've been having so many problems here lately out of my cast iron skillets. I definitely need to re-season all of those ASAP. So anyways, I just made 4 little holes in the middle of the potatoes, and then I'm going to be cracking in 4 eggs. At this point, I was supposed to pop it in the oven to let it finish cooking, but this skillet cannot go in the oven, so I just let it finish in this skillet, and it worked out okay. So here I'm just seasoning those with some salt and pepper, and then I'm going to pop the lid on and just let those cook to your liking. So once the eggs were cooked, I just topped those with some shredded cheese, and then I popped my lid back on and I just let that melt for about a minute or two. Once my cheese was melted, I just topped it with a little bit of parsley for color, and here is my plate. This was so delicious. My only complaint was I did overcook the eggs. We like ours to be on the runny side, and these weren't even in the slightest. But on the side, I just have a piece of whole wheat toast that I have some avocado on top, and I have seasoned it with some everything but the bagel seasoning. So that is going to wrap up this video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it and found some inspiration. If you are new here, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button. That would make me so happy. I hope that you all have an awesome week, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.